Hello, hi, my name is Cynthia Jones, and welcome to the Profitable Business Mindset. We are having this summit to raise awareness about how the mindset plays an important role in our lives and outcomes and developments. Today, we have the pleasure of having Roger Burnley with us. Roger has been a coach for more than 33 years. He began his career as a counselor, but he left the arena as he felt he needed to know and experience more to add value to his work. He wanted to be prepared and know what he was offering and was meaningful to his audience. Roger has experienced many ups and downs. He's been able to transverse all of them. He says his experience is tremendous hardship and difficulties, which helps bring him tools and techniques for helping others to overcome. Roger began his empowerment life coaching practice. His goal is to guide others to find ways to move beyond many many difficulties and experience freedom to fulfill their dreams. He created an online program, Overcoming Everything, a self-guide to empowerment. Roger has devoted his life to coaching, writing, speaking, and creating products, all designed for the empowerment of others. It's so nice to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's really fascinating listening to all of that. Really? Did that happen?
Is that me?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot, and there's a lot to unpack from that. So,
Yes. Okay. So, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started as an entrepreneur?
it was interesting when I first read that question from you. I had to think about that a little bit because I didn't I didn't set out in my life, I don't believe, to be an entrepreneur. It seems like I just got moved into that direction.
Uh-huh.
I'm originally from Chicago, and I grew up there and went to school, did all that, went into college. And at some point, but I was always really restless. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I would look around and I would see all of these other people who knew exactly what they wanted to do, usually at a very early age. Like in grade school, they were saying, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. I couldn't say any of those things. And so the only thing I could think of was like, well, maybe I'm supposed to do what my parents did. Maybe I'm supposed to do what my father did. And he was an
Mhm.
accountant, he had done real estate. So I went to college and I started studying accounting. I thought, and I was pretty good at it actually. And I thought, well, maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And then at some point I thought, no, this isn't it. And I ended up ended up leaving school. And
Uh-huh.
then but surprisingly I got a job in accounting. Now
Oh.
from there I'll just tell you, it was just crazy because I would take one thing and then discover that's not it, but I would stay with it for a while. And it was like this pattern I had. Usually it was about 4 years. Like I stayed with the accounting job for about 4 years. Then then somebody asked me, could you come and manage our business for us? And it was beauty salons. I don't know anything about that, but I thought, okay, I guess I'm being taken there for some reason. So I did that for about 4 years again. And so then from that, somebody said, would you come and run this company for us, manage this?
Wow.
And
Wow.
what that was a training company that showed people how to, it actually taught funeral directors how to deal with grief. I go, that doesn't even make sense. I know, you think that they would have that,
They
but
will
then
have that part down.
no, but they don't, because the mortuary schools don't teach that. They would tell people, this was a long time ago.
Mhm,
Like, again,
mhm, mhm,
I know that it's changed now, but this was a
mhm,
long time ago.
mhm,
And what they would say is that, they just stay away, don't get too involved with the families, just, keep your
mhm,
distance, be really staid and all of that.
mhm.
And so, but that wasn't really helpful for the families who were going through the grief.
Right,
So,
right.
as I did that, I learned so much through that, because that's when I started moving into doing counseling, because I was starting to see how valuable this was. Now, just to show you how that made sense, what the company would do, they had weekend workshops where they would bring funeral directors in and put them through what's an experiential workshop, meaning having them review their lives, deal with grief issues that they had gone through. And through that experience, you would see these people break down, basically to their knees.
Wow.
Finally, yes, because now they understood. And once they had moved through and processed this withheld grief that they had,
Wow.
they became much more available to the people they were working with. They became much more empathetic to those people that they had to help through their own grieving process, you know? And so it was a great training ground for me. Now, again, I'm not knowing at this point that I'm being trained. I was just thinking, I'm just doing jobs. I'm just going and getting the next job. And so, and then from that, I got into more the performing thing.
Mhm.
I had done that many years ago, but I got back into singing and getting on stage again and performing. And I thought, this is interesting. So then that led me to then starting to coach people in doing that. But then when I started to coach people, I discovered I'm not coaching them just on their singing or on their voice or any of that. I am coaching them through their life. And the reason I was able to do that, I could see now, because of all of those other things that I had gone through, that I had done, that had my life had taken me, that I didn't even understand what was happening at the time. But I've come up with this idea that I was being prepared. I was being trained to do the work that I'm, doing now.
Wow.
And
Wow.
my whole philosophy in the work that I do with any client is that yes, there is something that you're supposed to do in your life that's going to cause you to be happy, that's going to cause you to be fulfilled and become more than what you were before. And so we just got to look at stuff going on in your life and we'll be able to figure that out, which is exactly what
Wow.
I had to do. Which also told me that I had to, I think we have certain experiences in our lives because they are appropriate or really essential to the work that we're going to do, even when we don't understand them. But I can see now how all of those things that I went through gave me the ability, just as the seminars did for the funeral directors, it gave me the ability to then be more open and understanding of whatever particular problems my clients are going through. I always say to everybody, I will talk about things and you will hear my life story and you will say, I've been through so much crap that it didn't even seem possible that anybody could survive all of that, but I did. And I don't believe anyone has to do that. But
Mhm.
because of what I had set out in my life, what I wanted to do in terms of a career, yeah,
Mhm.
I needed to know that. I wanted to know that. So it became, so now when I look at it, I can look at those horrible, difficult things and say, okay, I went through them, got through them, but they gave me value that I'm going to use now.
Yeah. Wow, that is tremendous. That is really something good to know, that how, because sometimes that's what you think. Why am I doing all these things? Why am I doing all these different jobs? But as you have elegantly said, it's for a purpose to bring
Right.
you to a place where all of those things you did, you can now use to, benefit either others, yourself, or what direction you're trying to go in. That's a great
You
takeaway.
know, and just to add to that, and I can see this too because all of them were valuable, even the things that I can look at now that I did that were just totally pointless jobs. That why am I here? Why am I doing that? But I wouldn't have known what I did want to do unless I had experienced those
Exactly.
things.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's a point and place that we all go through, whether we want to admit it or not. But yeah, because I remember some jobs I was doing, I was like, so what is the purpose of this? But like you're saying, it made me realize that that was not for me. That's how I knew
Exactly.
that even though I chose the IT field, that's my profession now. I'm a people person. I'm like, so why are you here behind a computer? Well, you like talking to people, you like advising people, you like helping people. But yeah, so that IT profession has really made me realize, I am a people person. Because at
Yeah,
work,
but
I'm
guess
always
what?
like chattering up because we sit in cubicles and I'm like, hey, what did you do for the weekend? What are you doing? What are your kids doing?
Now, so I'm listening to that and I'm thinking that, well, wait a minute. Of course, the IT experience for you actually prepared you for doing what you're doing right now. So, of
Yes.
course. Yeah.
Yes, and I was so reluctant because I did a master's degree with cybersecurity, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to get my money. This degree is going to pay for itself, and so I wholeheartedly went into it. and I'm there and I'm like, okay, I want to get more. I want to come to this level. I want to do this. And then one day I was driving home and I was like, so what was all of that for? Because you're still not happy. I was like, no. Yes, yeah.
That's the part, what you're just describing is the part that I run into with so many clients, is that, they said, listen, I've done this thing, I've done that, and I'm still not finding it. I don't have the money I want, I don't have the success, I don't have anything that I want. And I just said, well, that's because you haven't found the right thing. That's all that's going on ever.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes us a while to really uncover that. And then the other thing, and this is the crazy thing I'm going to say, but I know that it's true. The things that, and you just demonstrated it, because the things that come easily to us, that feel very natural or feel very innate, like you said, talking to people, are the things that would make us the happiest and bring us the greatest amount of success if we're willing to follow that path. But we don't live in a society where we're taught that's okay. We think we've got to be doing something else. And then we also think that the work that we're doing, that we're supposed to be doing, has to feel hard. It needs to feel, if it's not feeling hard, then maybe it's not really valuable. And the opposite is true. You know, if it's feeling like I really enjoy, I mean, it's just the logic of that can tell you, if I feel like I'm really enjoying something that I'm doing, I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump into it.
Right.
But it's about finding and a lot of times it is finding the courage, so to speak, to make that choice to go in that direction, because your family and friends are going to tell you you're a little nuts for wanting to do that.
And I think too, it has a lot to do the way we are brought up, because for me, for example, I was taught that if I want to do anything in life and be successful, I have to go to school. I have to get a degree. If I want to do something like helping people and talking, how is that going to pay my bills? How is that going to do anything for me to make me successful? That me having a degree, like, or a title, I should say, makes you successful, which is untrue. But that's the way the society is, that you put titles against your name and that entitles you to success, but that's not the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. And then the next question is, what is one of the biggest hurdles that you have faced, and how has your mindset helped you overcome? I know you said you had some difficulties, so how did your mindset play a role in those overcoming those difficulties?
Oh, wow. This is going to be a big one. So I'm going to give it to people because I want them to understand that, because they will look at me and think that this isn't possible, but I will tell you the story anyway. About 25 years ago, that's how long ago it was, about 25 years ago, I came down with some weird illness that to this day, they can't really figure out where it came from or why it happened, but it began in my, with an infection in my foot. And and this was a time where I was not in greatest place in my life. I didn't have health insurance. I didn't have anything. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I finally got to a doctor and they looked at me and they said, we don't understand what the hell is going on here. And so we're going to put you in a hospital. And because the infection was starting to spread and it was doing that, and it went on. And so they were trying to figure out, so they put me in a very good hospital, fortunately, because it was a teaching hospital, because it was such an odd thing that they wanted to study me to try to figure it all out. So this went on for, I was in the hospital for this first time, almost a month, actually, over time. But what happened was, the thing kept getting worse, and so they had to amputate my big toe. Then it kept getting worse, and then they thought maybe they're going to have to amputate my leg. And then it kept going on, and then they said, okay, we're going to keep your leg, but now I lost more of my toes. So basically, I lost the greater part of my left foot. I was in recovery for the longest time. My entire life fell apart. I lost my business. I lost everything that I had. I had to move out of my home because I could no longer afford to live there. I had to rehabilitate myself because I had to learn to walk again. Literally, when you find that you're having this body that has changed, you have to figure out how to maneuver in the world in a completely different way. Then the shame and embarrassment of all of that caused me to become really depressed. Then I became clinically depressed. Then I was on so many medications because the pain was extraordinary, and I had to have a plastic surgery done, which was the most painful of all of them. And so I became addicted to opiates. I was on, and I abused them. I took Oxycontin and I took Vicodin, and I was doing them together because that was the only way I could function and get through in the world. I did all of this and went through it for the better part of 2 years that this whole process was going on. And at some point I said, okay, I think I'm done with this now, and let me start to move forward. Let me start to rehabilitate. And so I started to wean myself, got myself off the drugs. I started to move through all of that, which people said, you can't do that without going into rehab,
Rehab.
without going into treatment.
Uh-huh.
I thought, no, there is another ability that I'm going to tap into, and I'm going to do this. And
Wow.
that's exactly what I did. And so
Wow.
because of all of that, as I said, I know it, it was a most horrible experience ever. But I also know that now, because of what I do, when someone comes to me with their most horrible problems, I can relate. I understand. I know how you're
Wow.
feeling.
Mhm.
But I also am standing here to tell you what is possible, to tell you how you can move through this, how you can process through that
Wow.
and create yourself anew. And what you went through was worth it, because you're going to come out of this being a more evolved person. You're going to feel better
Wow.
about who you are. That's what's going to happen as a result of that experience.
Wow. That is awesome. Wow. So you spoke a little bit how you had made up your mind. So when that happened, how did you do that? Like, were you using
Well,
affirmations? Were you
well,
like, you
okay.
just got tired and said, that's it, I'm done. I'm, not
Well,
looking.
okay. I'm a little impulsive. Let me tell you the real story with that too. Because sometimes I'm very impulsive at times, and I will just like
Okay.
get an idea and think, okay, I've got to do this.
Uh-huh.
And so what was happening now, and just be, I am completely transparent with all of my stuff always. And so at some point I realized that, wait a minute, I think I'm through the pain now, so I didn't really need them. Now I
Mhm.
had become accustomed to them because it did make me feel like I could deal with the world. So you
Yes.
develop this kind of security in that.
Yes.
But I said, I don't want to live this way. And so
Yes.
I thought, I'm just going to stop, because I also couldn't get any more prescriptions, because I had been like, I was doubling them up, and no doctor was going to give me any more. And so I thought, what am I going to do? So I had no choice at that point. So I said, forget it. I'm just going to stop.
Wow.
And that day it was, and I remember on one day, and then towards the evening, it felt as if I know exactly what it's like to come off of heroin, because that's the feeling that you have. When you are coming off of these opiates, what happens is you feel like you're going to pull your skin out. You want to get out of your body. You just can't handle it. And so and I was so frightened. And so I had a friend who came, picked me up, took me to the emergency room. I told the doctors what I had done. I just stopped taking the drugs. And they looked at me and said, are you crazy? You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to wean yourself off. So I understood that. And so, but now I had already made it. So now it's easier,
Mm.
because I had made the
Mhm.
decision that I'm done and I don't need this and I've got to get off of them. Okay, I recognize the reality that I have to do it in a particular way.
Wait.
And that's always the case with anything that we want to accomplish. Let's do it in a way that's reasonable and that makes sense and that works with generally conceived principles about this thing. So I took just that, I timed it out. I have this many left, and I'm supposed to take this, and then the next day take less and less and less until it's done.
One.
So going through that process made it adjustable and acceptable to me. But the more important part of that was that I wanted it. Once we set our mental and mindset, as you brought up, to what we want and believe that it is possible, it becomes much easier to achieve that. And that's exactly what went on.
Yeah, yeah, that's the part I was going to have to ask you to explain, but you did that once you make up your mind, because the thoughts will come back, should I do it, or should I look for
Right.
other things, or should I look for other ways? Because that's a very strong thing to say, that you're stopping, because maybe another person would say, well, let me try to find something else to substitute. Since I
Right.
can't have this one, I'll have this one instead. And I mean, I think we do that a lot in life. We exchange things.
Oh
So when
yeah.
something else is not available, we say, oh, well, maybe this one can substitute for that one. And it's not, it's just a point in time where you need to just cut it off, make up your mind, this is how I'm going to live, and believe it, as you so said. And once you start believing that thing, the desire comes up and you are able to go through. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting. That's very admirable that you could make up your mind in such a way that it changed your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was going one way and you made that decision. This is not how it's going to be. This is how I want it to be.
Right.
Mhm.
And it wasn't easy. I mean, I
Mhm.
have to admit that I'm not, I could talk about it now, and
Mhm.
because it's so removed that
Yes.
I can make it
Mhm.
seem that way. But it was it was really a challenge. And then also that mindset too. I remember when all this was occurring, I remember seeing a news report about some celebrity
Mhm.
that was drug addicted or something, and they were saying that well, you've got to go to rehab. The only way for this to work is for
Work it
you to go to
through.
rehab. And so I'm thinking, I'm already in this process of letting go of things, and I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, did I make a mistake? Maybe that I couldn't do
To
that.
do it on
Maybe
my
I'm not
own.
going to be able to do this.
Yes.
Maybe I need to
Yes.
go to some 12-step program to really get through this or something. And that could be true.
Uh-huh.
And for some
Uh-huh.
people, that is very true. We all have to find what is
It's
um,
working.
or works for us. And I years and years before all of this, actually,
Mhm.
I had gone to 12-step programs for other
Mhm.
things and with friends
Mhm.
and all that, and I get the value of them
Mhm.
so much. I know that they're valuable, and a lot of the things that I do in my own work follow those principles. So I know that they were very valuable. But I also knew that at that time, because again of what I wanted to do in my life, I needed to figure this out in a different level,
Mhm.
because then it makes me more a present for my clients. It makes me
Mhm.
more available to what
Wow.
they're processing through.
Wow. Wow. That's great. That is really great. So, can you tell us about a time when you made a big investment for your business, your empowerment coaching, and what did that look like?
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought about that. I was trying to remember because there's so many different things that I've done, but I think the thing that first came to mind when I saw that was a few years ago. I made an investment into a course that I was going to take that was to help coaches. Now I'm already coaching, and I'm wondering why am I doing this? And it was inexpensive, and it was. I mean, it was. I think at the time it was about $2,500. So it wasn't cheap, and at that point I didn't have a whole lot of money to be doing anything. But it was because I knew that I wanted to make this transition, and I was afraid of it. Okay, I wanted to make the transition from the type of coaching that I had been doing prior,
Mhm.
just because I was just doing vocal coaching and performance
Okay.
coaching and all that, which was great. But now I'm saying, no, I know that it's more, that it's life coaching, it's empowerment life coaching. And so and I didn't know how to get into that
Mhm.
area. I didn't know
Mhm.
what to do. I also didn't understand how valuable it was. I didn't
Mm.
know what a difference it could make. I'm only looking at coaching from this very narrow,
Mhm.
um, through this very narrow lens of what I had been doing. So I couldn't see the vastness of it. So when I got into this program, it was an online program, and then they would also do some live things, some live calls. And when I'm starting to hear the experiences of other people, when I'm starting to see
Wow.
the stories of the value that people
Mhm.
have created or achieved or helped other people
Mhm.
achieve in their lives and how
Mhm.
important it is, when
Mhm.
I started to understand how we all need coaching on some level, including me, and I did, you know,
I know.
all of those things. And I looked at that and I thought, oh, this was the best investment I could have possibly made.
Mhm.
It started me to own what I was up to, and to also, I think, on a whole different level, which I sort of felt before, but this caused me to appreciate and the importance of it and
Mhm.
what a difference it could make for other people.
Wow, wow. And I think that's so important that a lot of times we don't consider ourselves as the biggest investment. Like you're saying,
Right,
you wanted to do something that would help you take you somewhere, but you didn't know how to get there. And a lot
right.
of times we go around and around and around trying to figure this out. And
Hmm.
meanwhile, there's someone who has done it before you if you could just reach out. And a lot of
Exactly.
times it's not free. We want things that are free, like, oh, why do I have to pay for that? Why won't they just do it for free? Because
Yeah.
as you saying, I took a coach as well, and I'm like, so why are you doing this again? Uh-huh,
Exactly.
uh-huh. But
And
like you're saying, I want to go somewhere, but I don't know even know how to get there. So how do you, I think I'm going to get there if I don't let somebody show me.
yeah, you brought up something very interesting too about the free thing, because I mean, it makes sense that we're always kind of looking for something that's free. But I came to figure out for myself, we all build in certain kinds of ideas about money and how we will make that important or not important in certain areas. And so what I found is that sometimes when I'm using money as the reason for me not to do something, a lot of times it's not really about the money, it's about I'm trying to cover up some other fear. I'm just not wanting to make this commitment. And so, and I see that so much in my clients when they're going to start a coaching program and it becomes, oh, the money is might be too much. And I know it's not that.
Mhm.
And I know that for sure because I can remember back, and I use this story to tell my clients. Um, when I first started, and this was so many years ago, I was getting
Mhm.
coaching, local coaching
Mhm.
at that time, and it was expensive. And
Mhm.
I didn't, but I wanted the result.
Mhm.
And so even though I didn't have the cash at that time, I did have credit cards. And so I thought, this is important. I know that I'm supposed to do this. And so, yeah, I got to put myself into a little bit of debt right now, but I'm going to go ahead and do that because that was something that I wanted. So it wasn't anything else I could have looked at maybe and not been able to come up with the money, thinking that I can't afford it. But
Mhm.
this I
Mhm.
knew was what it was.
Yes.
And so I tell people all the time, you have to look at, is spending this money going to really hurt you, in the long run,
In the long
or
run. Yeah.
is it going to possibly bring you so much more money because of what you're going to gain from it? And
Yeah.
that's what I had to look at.
And that's so interesting because, like, I mean, I don't think it's just you and I think a lot of people do that because I will do that as well. That how much does it cost? What?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, no. And like you're saying, it's because I'm really covering up for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of just realizing that this is what is for me, you discredit it and say, no, I'm not going that way because of the cost. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, interesting. Great, 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 great topic. So, can you tell us a little bit about your empowerment coaching?
Yes. I'm a crazy person. And so I have this idea that we can become powerful in any area of our life if we're willing to do the work. And I
Yes.
break it down into, I came
Mhm.
up with this process I call empowerment made simple. And because I
Mhm.
say, and I want people to have that concept, because when you understand what empowerment is, it really is simple. Logically, intellectually, we could sit and figure it out. We could know the things that we could do to get the best results in
Mhm.
our lives. It's
Mhm.
never that difficult to figure out, but most of us are not making those choices for a lot of different reasons. And so what I want to do then is help them figure out, why am I not making the choice?
Wow.
There's
Wow.
a reason for
Mhm.
that. So once we start figuring out why we aren't making a choice, or why we don't know where we're going, or what we're
Mhm.
covering up, why we're
Mhm.
unhappy, why we're all of that,
Mhm.
then we break through and then we find something actionable that we can do to break out of that paradigm, to
Mhm.
break out of that restriction. Because
Mhm.
I look at all of it as being a restriction.
Mhm.
Everything that we're going through in life, we're going to, as long as we're alive, we're going to hit blockages, we're going to hit those, what seems like an obstacle at some
Mhm.
point. And that's the fun part of life. Is I say that now, it doesn't feel that way when you're going through it, but it is at a certain point. How
Mhm.
can I figure this out? What is this going to, how is this going to cause me to become a better person, or more evolved, or
Mhm.
whatever it might be?
Mhm.
So what I always like to help my clients understand is that your life is really quite wonderful and perfect. And they will look at
Wow.
me and say, you're a completely crazy person.
Wow.
And I will say, no, you
Wow.
came here with conditions and circumstances, people, parents, your neighborhood, all
Mhm.
of it was
Mhm.
for a reason.
Mhm.
And when you figure out those reasons, you're going
Wow.
to find the value of your life. And
Mhm.
then you're going to take that value and you're going to put it out there in the world and create something magnificent.
Wow. Wow. Funny you talk about that. That's what I've been listening to a lot about value, how when you add value to yourself, people will reward you. People don't reward you just because, but it's
Right.
because the value that you bring to whatever it is you're trying to do. So if it's IT, I'm trying to do, what value do I bring to that? If it's coaching, I'm trying to do, what value do I bring to that? That's how I pull in my potential clients, by the value I'm going to give them.
Mhm. I gotta tell you one other thing, and I'm so glad you said that because um, you just touched on something that would cause so many people to become really empowered and valuable in their lives when they recognize, when they find the value of what they're doing. And then they know what this is why I'm doing it, because that's the kind of person I am. I want to give back. I want to help. I want to make a
Yeah.
contribution, and that's why I
Yeah.
need to know that first. So it was funny. I was telling a friend this story. I was on Facebook the other day, and I saw an associate, an acquaintance someone that I know, and he had he was sitting there and he had a photo of himself and he was just in pain. He was in this horrible place, and he said, my back is out and I'm immobilized. I can't move. I'm in so much pain. I don't know what to do. I can't even walk around. And I said, oh, I know this one really well. I used to live with that. My back would be out, as they call it, so
Mhm.
many times. But
Mhm.
I also know that it can be cured. And so it sounds like a really crazy thing, but I said, no, listen, I wrote back to him right away. I said, go immediately and get this book. And it's called Healing Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno. Get it and read it over and over and over again. And he's like, okay. And I said, listen, I used to deal with this. I went through this for decades. I do not have that problem anymore.
Wow.
Read the book. And
Wow.
I said, go and listen to Howard Stern talk about it, because Howard Stern will tell you how valuable this guy was.
Wow.
And so, and for me, and so I was done with that. And that was the highlight of my day,
Wow.
to know that I had given him something that's going to help him and it's going to move his life forward. And I go, oh, yeah, that's the person that I am. And so once we honor that, and that's what you were doing with figuring out this with your why, what value am I going to offer to someone? That's the key.
Wow. Wow. Great, great, great conversation. I feel like we could go on for hours.
We could.
Oh my goodness, really great topics, really great information. And I'm sure it will resonate with a lot of people, because the things that we're talking about are not afar off. Sometimes people think things are so afar off, but it's
Right.
actually closer. We are more alike than we are unalike.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yes. So is there anything else you would like to add to the interview that we didn't discuss?
I just want people to know that they have so much within them that's
Mm,
just waiting for them to discover and let it
mm,
come through. That's always the
mm,
case. And if there's anything else I could have them try to hope to remember, especially when they're in really hard times, it's
mm.
going to lead you to someplace else. If you can keep, as you mentioned earlier, that mindset, and even though this may be crazy right now, I know it's taking me someplace great.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Roger, today for taking the time to speak with us. And also, just so the audience know, we will have more great speakers like Roger's coming. The summit is called Profitable Business Mindset, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Again, Roger, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. I really loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.